All right, it is everyone's favorite time of the month, Itineration report time. Hi, David Prodan here, a brand new missionary who's here to show you how to fill out your online IR and also get a little bit of group emotional therapy here. It's going to be fine. So before we get started, there's a couple things that we need to gather first. And number one, you are going to need a computer and access to your AG Passport account. Number two, you are going to need access to your shame drawer filled with every receipt and check and cash slip that you have received for Itineration in the last month. Very important. Number three, you are going to need your caffeinated emotional support beverage of choice. And number four, you will need some way to scan things into your computer. And I'm going to jump right into the reporting, but stick around at the end of the video if you'd like my recommendations for how I digitally scan and organize my stuff. A quick side note, I am making up some of these numbers because there is actual financial information in here. So this will be a mix of my actual financial report and some fake example ones so that you can also follow along on home. So if some things aren't lining up perfectly, that's why. So step one is to scan and file everything. For my own system, I scan all of my checks first. I save those to a online file so that I know where they are, and then I put the rest of them in a manila folder so that if the IRS ever comes for my kneecaps, I know where they are. Step two is to scan all of your expenses. So this starts by scanning every paper receipt that you can find over $75. And then it also involves going to the internet and downloading PDFs of any other expenses that you don't have physical receipts for. So like here, I have a expensive hotel that we stayed at for general counsel for several days. So I'm downloading that receipt and saving all of that in a place where you can locate it. Now that we've got that organized, it's time to log into AG Passport. All right, so to begin, we're going to go to financialreporting.agwm.com. Feel free to pause this if you need it. You'll be prompted with this screen where you will have to remember your username and password to log in. Remember to talk to AGWM headquarters and their support team if you have any issues logging in. Once you log in, you'll be greeted with this lovely home screen. We're going to ignore all that, and we're going to go up to the Itineration tab. Now from here, we're going to go simply to the Itineration Report IR. And here is the report itself. So the first thing we're going to do here is to log our income. So this is any checks or cash that I have received in the past month. To add income, simply go to the Pending Income section and click Create New Itineration Income Report Item. That's a mouthful. Don't be afraid if you are prompted to log into this separate login here. Everything should autofill, and if not, remember to just reach out to AGWM. They'll help you log in. So now I'm going to start with the first check that I received from a church that we spoke at earlier in the month. And I'm going to enter its information in this form. Here are the important fields to note. We're going to go to Income Type, select an item, Work. The report category is a work offering. Class to credit is going to be that $00. Don't get too stressed about all those numbers. 99% of what you are going to be given is all just going to be a $00. That's what goes directly into your work account. Go ahead and enter the date that is written on the check. So I received this on 8/7/23. And then out of all of this, all you have to worry about is donor last name or company church last name. So I got this from Churchington, a very real church name. And now we're going to look at the address that is on the check and put that information into the next section. Under the USD receipt amount, you write out how much it was. This was for $300. And enter in a description. I usually just do post-service honorarium because that's what it was. Under the donor mailing address, I'm simply going to type out all of the information here. After you've finished entering the address, you can scroll up and click Create New Income Item. Now, if there is a verified address, you can go ahead and you can use the verified address here instead of what you put in to make it easier for them to find. Once you click OK, you can click OK, and congratulations, success, your income item was created. To go back and view that, I'm just going to go back to my itineration report, which as you see is on a different tab of my browser. I'm going to scroll up to here and click View, and now that income item is listed here as a work item. All right, now this month I also got $40 in random miscellaneous cash that people Pentecostal handshaked me at the end of service. So let's show you how to log cash anonymously since I don't have these people's addresses. We're going to go back to Create New Itineration Income Report Item. Just like we did before, this is going to be Work, Work Offering, and 00. Now, if you received a particularly large amount of money, you might want to make a separate account and put that date down. But considering I received this at several different services, I'm just going to put today's date down. So date received, 8/18/23. And then now we're going to click this magical Make Donor Anonymous button, which is going to populate this stuff that is going to help out AGWM understand what we're doing. I again received $40 in total. I'm going to call this miscellaneous post-service cash gifts. Great. And since we don't have an address, we can just click send. Now we're going to do expenses, and I'm going to do some of the more common ones because those are the ones that I have. Now we're going to go to Create New Itineration Expense Report Item under the pending expenses. Now this is important to note. You only need to upload a receipt if it is a single expense larger than $75. So I usually start with my most expensive things because I have to have those scanned, and then I work my way down. So let's start with the hotel that we booked for General Counsel. So this, we're going to do expense type travel. And for the category, we are going to go to motel and lodging. Now you just put all of the information from the receipt you're about to upload onto the field. So for this, I stayed there on 8/4/23. This is the name of the hotel, which is Hotel. The amount of receipt, this is how much we actually charged at the end. And this will calculate out for the rate, for the description, and the purpose of your stay, maybe what church you were visiting. For me, this is General Counsel Hotel stay, which I did have to get approved, by the way. So since this is over $75, we have to upload our receipt. If you have an image, so that is a JPEG file or a PNG file, like a photo you took with your phone, you would click this one. But I have a PDF document, which I downloaded from my email. So we're going to do a single file with documentation. And then once this is added, we're going to click Create New Expense Item and send it off. Quick note for large things, make sure you have an actual receipt and not just a quote. They're going to be looking for if there was like a charge card number or something on there. That'll save you going back and forth one time with your financial specialist. All right, so next is going to be miles. So all you need right now is the bottom line of how many miles you drove for itineration purposes in the past month. Most people will keep a physical logbook in the car that shows how many miles they have. A lot of people use apps. There are certain apps you can download that you can just log those miles and you can pull that up really quickly. I don't recommend this, but if in an emergency situation, you need to go back through your schedule and reverse engineer where you drove using Google Maps, do what you have to do, but make sure that you keep an accurate logbook for tax purposes. But once you have that baseline number, we're going to go back into Create Expense Report Item to log our miles. So here we're in a new expense report item, and we are going to go Travel. And for the category, miles driven for whatever situation you have. For this one, I have miles driven after 1/1/23. And then very simply, you're going to do the start date. So for me, this is miles being counted the beginning of A, so 8/1/23. And the end date, I'm doing my itineration report a little early, so this chunk is just going to be through everything I've driven through today, which is the 18th. But if you wait till the end of the month, just put the end of the month there as well. For payee name, I just do miscellaneous, and mileage driven, you're going to put the number of miles that you drove, and as you notice, it will automatically calculate however much the current rate is per mile for reimbursement. We're going to go ahead and add a description, so miles driven 8/1 to 8/18, and then you can go ahead and you can create new expense item to get that posted. Another common one is meals that you may have got on the road while driving down. So remember, you don't need an uploaded receipt for any individual purchase under $75. So as long as you have those receipts and you have that record, maybe even go back online to a bank statement and pull those figures, you will have what you need to do the next part for logging meals. So for this, the expense type is travel. The report category is going to be meals, tips, travel. Now this is going to ask what kind of supporting documentation you have. So if you have a receipt for a meal that you want reimbursement for that's over $75, you're going to take a single expense with an amount $75 or more. But I'm going to do all of mine at the same time. I don't have anything over $75, so we're going to do 2 or more expenses, each $75 or less. And what was the type of travel? Of course, we are still on Itineration. We're going to go ahead and click Add. Now you're going to write down the date of your first meal here. So let's say I went out on this Tuesday. You're going to write Burger King on way to meeting. And then you're going to type in whatever you spent on your meal. And then once that's good, you're going to add a new row. And you're going to go and do the next date. And more different food for purposes on the road. And you're going to put that. And you're just going to write out all of your meal expenses all in the same category. And then once you're satisfied with everything, you'll see a total down here, which you can just copy and paste back up here for how much you spent on all this money at the same time. Added a description like missed meals while traveling this month. And then as always, go ahead and create new expense report item. So remember, you're supposed to fill out a district report every month and send them the percentage that they ask for of any income that you have. So you're going to pay that percentage directly to the district, but we actually get reimbursed for that when we do it. So you can download any receipts, especially if you give to the district online, for any reimbursement that you may have given to them. And then we can also add that as an expense here as well. That is going to be found under expense type work. And for the category, contributions to district offices. And again, assuming you gave more than $75, you go ahead and upload the receipt at the bottom and fill out the rest of the information. Even if you're not filling out your report yet, I highly encourage you to go to both the expenses and the income categories, make one, you don't have to submit it, and just click around on some of those drop downs and see the different categories of things that you can get reimbursed for. Some of those things will only really apply once you get on the field, because the on-field reports also use this same software. So just go ahead, take a look at your budget, see what you're used to getting reimbursed for, and find the right drop down that corresponds with what you're looking for. So what if there's a problem with something that you log? Listen, we all make mistakes. I accidentally just authentically submitted that genuine church thing with Church McChurchingtons on there. So I'm so sorry, itineration specialist, when you see that and you wonder what that's about. So if you make any mistakes or they're just not going to accept something, what's going to happen is you are going to get an email when someone reviews this, and on that email, it will say what you need to do. They might say something like, please resubmit this receipt for this reason, or you put this under the wrong category. In which case, you just follow their instructions and go back in and resubmit. And it's as simple as that. You'll notice once you submit stuff that you'll see this status. What submitted means is that it's submitted, but it hasn't been officially counted yet because it still needs to manually be reviewed by someone. So once you've logged all of your income and all of your expenses, and once stuff starts to get approved, at the very bottom of the itineration report, there will be a summary of about what you can expect to happen. Down here in the itineration worksheet section, you'll be able to see about the expectations of whether or not next month you're going to have to pay in, or whether or not you'll be receiving extra reimbursement because of all the extra expenses that you had. So for me, last month, I had a negative balance, which means that I actually personally received from churches $678 more than I had expenses. So at the end of next month, you'll be obligated to pay back anything that you have, or you'll get any extra money coming back into your account automatically. And that is how you fill out your itineration report. Now, you might be wondering, David, why don't I see a submit or finish button? Well, for those of you who are used to sitting down in one go, filling out a manual piece of paper and emailing it off or sending it in, this is a living document. And what that means is that each individual thing, it's going to go through its own approval process, and it's going to be posted as soon as an itineration specialist gets to look at it. Which means that you can actually start submitting things on this as soon as it comes in. So if you don't want to wait like I did to the very end of the month, actually for me right now, it's the middle of the month, I still have a couple more services coming up, I can go ahead and I can just log stuff as soon as I get it, and then that's already done. And I don't have this big project that I have to work on at the end of the month. As a side note, this is still semi-subject to change, but for those of you as well who are used to submitting things for last month in the current month, that is unfortunately no longer how it works if you want to get reimbursed for what you have. It is a little subjective, so talk to your specialist if you have more questions, but I have found that finances for the current month that you're in tend to all be wrapped up around the final week of that month. So in other words, if I have a big expense that I really need to get reimbursed for, I need to make sure that I have logged that big expense on this by the minimum, the start of the last week of the month that I need. Because everything is going to get wrapped up at the end of the month, and anything that doesn't get made to the next statement, well, you're still going to get the money back, but you're probably just going to have to wait until the next month in order to actually get your money back. The second part of this process is logging your services, which are found in a different tab. Next, we're going to go back to itineration, but this time we're going to go to itineration, appointments, and services. We're going to go ahead and click create new itineration, appointment, and service count item. And very simply, you're going to put today's date or the current month that you're in, and you will just numerically log however many appointments you had and however many services you had for that given month, and go ahead and click update counts for this month. And once you are finished with everything, you then go ahead and click finalize counts for this month. Remember how earlier I mentioned those district reports? Well, unfortunately, that's not fully online yet because that is district to district, but you can find the PDF that you need online. So if you want, you can go ahead to itineration and then monthly district report PDF. When you click on this, this will download a PDF that you can fill out and go ahead and submit to your district if you don't have it already. Now, if you're curious as to what I use to scan my documents, I recommend the Epson ES50, which I found on Amazon for this amount. This, fun fact, I actually got donated to me from the big giveaway that Life 360 Church in Springfield does. And this went to the right person, because I am probably the only global worker on that stage who could have gotten disproportionately excited about a desktop scanner, and boy oh boy was this thing everything that I wanted. But if you don't want to spend money on a desktop scanner, you can use your phone. A lot of people, if you have an iPhone, you can just go ahead and open up your Notes app. Yep, just literally your normal Notes app. You can go ahead and start a note, and then click the, I think it's the scan button, and then it'll open up a menu where you literally just scan over the document, take a picture of it. You can do multiple different pages if you have to. And then once you go ahead and finalize the note, then after all that, you can just upload that note to like a Google Drive or an iCloud, anything that you use. Or you can even just go ahead and email that document to yourself. So point is if you have a phone, there are plenty of workarounds in order to scan your documents. It's just that is a lot more steps than just zipping it through a little guy and having it immediately show up on my computer. But whatever your preference is for filing, just do whatever is going to make your life easiest in the long run, because it will be worth it. And as a side note, at this point, I have already done 2 other videos. So if you are so confused on doing itineration reports that you're like, David, I don't even understand what I need to log, I did a very long-winded, very poor handwriting explanation of AGWM finances in general. So you can click somewhere around here to be taken to the financial overview video. And ahead of time, I'm so sorry. And as you may have noticed on AG Passport, there are a lot of other tabs and buttons up there. Most notably, you can actually manage all of your donors on here without having to use any third-party system. And I did a video on that if you would like to figure out how to manage all of your donors using AG Passport. I'm so sorry. All right, so thank you guys. And remember, God loves the lost so much, he will use even us if he has to. God bless, guys. Have a good one.